All right, we're ready to get our wireframe from Illustrator over into Photoshop. Now, of course, there's always more than one way to pull this off. What we could do, if we wanted to, is we could select all of the Illustrator content simply by hitting Control or Command A on our keyboard to grab everything inside the wireframe file here, and then we could copy it and paste it over into a new Photoshop file. The million-dollar question, of course, is how do we know what dimensions the new Photoshop file should be? Well, here's a really cool trick for you. Our layout happens to span the entire width of the artboard there, and it also spans the entire height of the artboard. The footer sits way down at the bottom of the artboard, and the header, of course, sits all the way up at the top of the artboard. So check this out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control or Command A on my keyboard, and then what I'll do is I'll flip into my transform panel, either the actual panel itself or the transform drop-down from the options bar here at the top. And there's the dimensions of our wireframe document, 750 by 1857 for myself anyway. Okay, so anyway, so what I would do is I would copy everything, then I would head over into Photoshop and I would choose File, New, and I would set up the Photoshop file to be the exact same dimensions that I see here inside Illustrator. In any regard, this is one option, not the option that I want to make use of, though. I want Photoshop to do all the heavy lifting for me. So what I'm going to do here instead, this is the option that I'm going to go with, is I'm going to close out of this file here inside Illustrator, Control or Command W. And then what I'll do is I'll head over to Photoshop, which of course I still have running in the background, and I'm going to open up the Illustrator file directly. Okay, so double-clicking on the gray background there inside Photoshop or File Open, and I'm going to go and look for Medium Resolution Wireframe.ai. Go ahead and grab this guy and open him up. Okay, this is exactly what we did earlier on with our high-resolution wireframe, as I'm sure you recall. All right, now, inside this dialog box, just double-check that your unit of measurement there on the right-hand side is indeed set to pixels. And then I'm going to use the same width that we just saw a moment ago inside Illustrator, inside our wireframe file, which was 750. Okay? And because I have constrained proportions activated or turned on inside the dialog box, the height automatically resets itself or adjusts itself. Perfect. So in other words, I'm getting Photoshop to do all the work here. Okay? Go ahead and click on OK. And of course, there's our wireframe now inside Photoshop. Okay. Now, the only drawback to going this route as opposed to copying and pasting from Illustrator is if I zoom in on my document, give me just a second, I'm going to zoom way in, what I wind up seeing are pixels, right? So we wind up getting pixels here inside Photoshop. If I were to copy and paste from Illustrator, I'd have the option, of course, of pasting as pixels or pasting as a smart object. So you do have that extra option there. So in any regard, there we go. There's our wireframe. The last thing I'm going to do here before we move on is I'm going to save this guy up. So I'm just going to choose File, Save As. There we go. And I'm just going to call this guy medium resolution.psd. Of course, I'm saving this into my work files folder. Make sure, by the way, that your format menu is set to Photoshop. We do want to make sure to save this guy as a .psd. And that's all there is to it. Go ahead and click on Save. And then if you get this compatibility dialog box coming up, go ahead and click on OK one more time. There we go.